At Deus Ex Machina in Venice, California, is Woolie's workshop, and a man that not only builds beautiful custom machines, but races them as well. So after his run up the incredible Pikes Peak mountain on his latest creation, I popped in for a chat with Woolie, and then for a quick blast around Willow Springs on his 200 horsepower beast.
Well, Woolie, what have we got here, man?
Oh, man.
Two-stroke 500.
V4 two-stroke 500.
Beautiful.
Yep. MX 500.
Now, another crazy bike you built is that Pikes Peak Ducati.
Yeah.
Another one.
Yeah.
Because I rode the first one, and
Yeah.
that was a real fast son of a gun. But then you went the next step, didn't you? And went for another one.
Well, the first bike just didn't. It worked good here at sea level on a racetrack where you could just, you didn't know it was doing it, but it was spinning up and sliding a lot, steering with the rear wheel. And Aaron Colton told me, I rode with him once, he said I was leaving black lines everywhere, and of course that makes sense. When I got to Pikes Peak, it's just, you can't really ride like that.
No.
Or you're gonna end up, in the trees or off
Sure,
the cliff,
sure.
And so it took so much energy to make the bike get just from the bottom to Glen Cove.
Oh yeah.
I had full blown arm pump every single time. Like I couldn't feel the bars when I came to Glen Cove.
Oh wow.
And
there's still a lot of corners to go as well.
And it was so it was tough, and so I decided, how Pikes Peak is, you just kind of, it gets under your skin, and I just wanted to just give it one more shot. I was going to be 60 right before the race, and I thought, let's just give it one more shot, one more go at it. And so I took the motor out, the electronics out. I traded the chassis to Mark Sutton, who's one of the best Ducati engine builders in the country, and we went back to the sandcast cases. I got a hold of a Parabon World Superbike frame, and we did quite a bit of modifying to the frame, which then made it legal for the exhibition class.
Yeah.
And basically built a World Superbike. I got the longer swing arm, the right link, which weren't available anymore. It was one of Shaky Burns' links.
Proper job then.
Yeah, the right shock, which is a shorter shock, so that kind of makes the chassis what it is, and then with the adjustable steering head angle and all that kind of stuff, it was just more in my mind. It was more like, okay, this is a working package that's going to work. It's a known package.
Yeah.
And then I just built the body after that.
Okay.
After I had like a proper.
And was it better this year than last year?
The bike was much better, but it was only better actually on race day, because this year they only gave motorcycles 1 day of practice, and the mountain was covered in mud because of the construction, so I didn't even go to that. And we just showed up at qualifying, first run on the mountain, first run on the bike up there, and the front end, every time I tried to go, the front end folded on me, like fully tucked to the stop. And weirdly enough, it didn't affect me mentally, or I never felt like I was going to crash off.
Right.
It just would just and come back. So I couldn't push. I couldn't ever start going.
And did you feel that was a suspension setup or a chassis setup, geometry? Is it, or was the
I wasn't
surface
sure if
just
it was the
dirty,
tires, because it was, the surface was really dirty, and I wasn't sure if it was because I went to a different tire brand. I wasn't sure what it was, because I had plugged in Ducati course numbers, and I only had 1 day to really ride it here, because the bike, we blew it up right before it was supposed to ship to me. It sucked an EVR air filter in off the airbox into the lower cylinder, destroyed the cylinder, the head completely. So the whole thing got delayed. Anyway, so I started trying to make changes. Day 3, Chris Fillmore came over, and he sat on the bike, and he's like, man, this feels like a good setup for the track down in California, but up here,
Yeah.
So anyway, I decided, okay, drove to Boulder Motorsports, picked up, they had a softer spring for me. I softened up the rear end, I stiffened up the front end. I got the bike kind of leveled out and moving up and down together.
Okay.
The whole bike was just now more neutral.
Yeah.
And then I was constantly making gearing changes, and for race day we made another big gearing change, lower, and it just made all the difference. Before I'd come into an S-turn and it would stutter, and then when it would come onto the power, I'd stand the bike up, want to go into the rock. So race day, it just shot out of the hairpins.
Big difference.
So
the thing is, from my experience at Pikes Peak, you need a really good rideable bike, don't you?
Yeah.
It's okay having power. and great brakes, but the thing still needs to be rideable.
Needs
and
to
I
be
think sometimes
comfortable.
when you're on a racetrack, you're a lot more aggressive on a racetrack.
There's a lot more traction.
And when I got to Pikes Peak, there wasn't a lot of traction. And,
Right.
and the nature of the actual mountain was very lots of bends rather than sharp corners.
Yeah.
There is a few sharp corners going up, don't get me wrong, but those were just few and far between.
Right.
Where those were more like hairpins.
Right.
So you needed a really good rideable bike, really.
Yeah.
You know.
And this year it was twice as bumpy as it was last year. And
See-
last year was probably 3 or 4 times bumpier than it was when you were there.
Yeah, right.
I mean, at the top it was like, whoops.
I think it's because
it
it gets a lot of snow and ice on in the winter time,
Yeah.
really, and when that defrosts, I don't know, the tarmac's
Yeah.
always in a bit of disrepair.
It was
isn't
it was tough. I mean,
Yeah.
I made what I can see were 4 clear mistakes.
You say it's done now, Pikes Peak, it's over. What are you going to do with that bike?
Well, I'm thinking about selling it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it only has maybe
That-
2 hours on the
That would be a
motor.
big, hefty price tag, don't you
Yeah,
think?
there's there's a lot of money in that bike. Close ratio Nova gearbox, World Superbike motor, Parabon chassis, magnesium swing. Just the parts alone were
Yeah,
over
that
80.
swinging arm sounds like it's special.
We're over $80,000 just the parts, and
Wow.
so it's you're going to get to ride it. I left the suspension setup the same so we can adjust that a little bit, but I did
Yeah.
change the gearing back to
Yeah.
to what you'd want for Willow
Amazing.
Springs.
I can't believe that you're going to let me have a go on it, because
I can't believe it either.
Because that is a special motorcycle. Because you let me out around the block on your first bike.
Yeah.
I only really got a lap
you-
around the block. So this time we're going to go to Willow
Yeah.
and we're going to get a real go on it.
Yeah.
So I can't wait.
It'll be good.
Yeah. So it's still got Pikes Peak gearing on.
No, gearing's now what you'd want for Big Willow.
Oh,
yeah,
really?
Yeah,
Okay.
because Pikes Peak gearing is so much lower.
Oh, is it?
Oh yeah.
Right.
It's like six teeth different.
Oh, big difference then.
Yeah.
Because Big Willow actually is a really fast racetrack, isn't it?
Exactly.
I mean, that last
Yeah.
corner is what? 100 and what?
Well,
40, 50 mile an hour
No,
corner?
it used to be on a 250. I'd go in there wide open 6-gear red line, so 165. Now it's a lot bumpier. So
Yeah.
back in the day, I mean, I did did high 23s on a 250.
Oh, wow.
Today, I did a 27 on this in race.
Oh, wow.
Race form.
Mainly because of the bumps? Is that the biggest difference?
Yeah, it's just
Okay.
super bumpy. There's cracks and there's bumps. There's a couple cracks in turn 9
Yeah.
that are like go right along the racing line, and if you get into them, you can just it
Yeah.
upsets the bike and.
Sounds like a really perfect racetrack for practicing Pikes Peak, actually. 'cause
Yeah.
Pikes Peak's on it.
Exactly.
All right, wonderful, man. Well, I can't wait to ride that Ducati
Yeah.
tomorrow.
With the beast warmed up, the tyre warmers off, and a quick rundown on all of those buttons from Woolie, I was then off for a lap around Big Willow on this rocket ship. Now I also had to remember to shift gears the opposite way, the racing way, not the roadway. So now I'm shifting down to go up the gears and shifting up to go down. Also, don't forget, I've got no ABS, no traction control, and over 200 horsepower at my fingertips. And if that's not enough, this bike is worth a fortune. And it also came with a huge warning from Woolie, not to crash it or F it up in any way. So, no pressure. But come on, this is also once in a lifetime ride. So after I scrubbed in those tyres for a lap and then got a feel for the bike, Then time to open it up for an exhilarating lap around Willow Springs. Now that's a wild ride, as that mighty powerful Ducati V-twin accelerates at a fierce rate of knots, and it's just a wrestle to stay aboard. It's a crazy machine, and one that commands respect.
Dude, the f***ing brakes are insane.
I told you.
Woo.
Yeah, the brakes are way gnarly, huh?
Woo. One finger. Woo. Crazy. Thank you, Woolie.
Oh, that's amazing. You made a right bike here. That was unbelievable. Oh my gosh, over 200 horsepower, no rider aids, no traction control, no ABS, just raw motorcycle. Built by this crazy man, Woolie. That is a big machine. Still, guys.
If you like this, then don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell. But most important, whenever you can, just go for a ride.
Whoa. It's like the perfect music to come in on.
Yeah. Are you doing this one fresh or
No, next one.
Okay, cool. We've got tons of stuff over here in the hospitality tent, so feel free to stop on by.